Let's see if we're live. And yep, we're live.
Just wait till I could see the video here. Don't see it yet.
Oh, well, it's there.
Alrighty. I'm just checking out all your subscriptions, who you're subscribed to.
Yeah, that goes on forever. But I guess my subscriptions include a lot of Elon Musk centered stuff. So there's lots of vegans. There's Matt Stoney, who eats a lot of meat, but
Don't know who that is.
oh well, he's a big competitive eater. But
I heard of Joey Chestnut or the Black Hole.
yeah, so they live in the same town, and they spend a lot of time competing at the highest level. So
Okay, there you are. I see it now. All right, who we got in the chat? We just got Casper. Anybody else in the chat here? 5 people watching. Well, anybody who's watching, Meateor Man last night, he said, "Do you want to debate tomorrow?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." And I said, "I'll message you." So I messaged him. I said, "How about at 10:30 at night?" He said, "That's too late. Do you have anything earlier?" And I said, "How about 9:45?" He said, "I might be able to do that because, my wife might want the computer or something like that, right?" And then I said, "Okay, well, how about even earlier? How about at noon?" And so then he agreed to it. And then at like 11:59, he says, "Oh, I can't do it anymore at noon. How about 3:30?" So here we are, 4:12. And he still hasn't answered the message yet. So that's the problem with raw meat eaters these days. They're just a bunch of jerks.
well, on some level, that's kind of true. But what are we going to talk about? Do you want to talk about animal ownership?
We could, but let me just show off my food here. So right here, today I started the day off with just a running gel. Went running, had a Powerade when I was running. Then I got home and I made this giant smoothie. Posted a picture of it on Twitter, and then I ate a whole pineapple. It wasn't ripe yet, and I had the acid feeling in my throat and everything. And then I realized I'm like almost out of fruit, so I made this big pot of veggies. We got some Brussels sprouts, some beans, some onions, some. It's just assorted beans and chickpeas. It's like what else do I got here? Broccoli, a little bit of noodles there, and some corn. And then I put tons of spices and stuff in there. Tastes delicious. And Thaddeus said he just ate a whole pineapple too. So there you go. And Thaddeus is also eating some. What are you eating?
Oh, well, I steamed some green beans, and I've already eaten the Brussels sprouts off the top, but bought some Italian and poured off the oil, and that's what I'm flavoring it with.
Nice. I put some Frank's Red Hot sauce, some organic mixed spices, and some garlic. I know I made a video saying onions and garlic are bad, but everybody in my house is sick. So I figure I should be using it for its medicinal purposes to boost my immune system so I don't get sick. If it works, then thank the Lord. If it doesn't and kills me, then thank the Lord.
Okay. Yeah, so I know we tend to agree about a lot of things, so it's kind of feels pointless to talk about many things, like how we break up on different sides. But if you want to talk about pet ownership, I don't know if we're actually on different sides or if we just use terms differently. But we sort of got into that last discussion. We're coming at some other guy from 2 different angles.
Did we already had a pet ownership debate or what?
No, I don't think we've had a debate, but
Oh,
ownership of animals did come up. We've expressed different views on that. I do think that there's a bit of a notion that somehow ownership of animals, um, while it's used to describe a right to do with the animal whatever you want, it's not associated with that directly. It doesn't have anything to do with any particular usage of an animal. So I do think there's a little bit of confusion of the topic, and it's triggering language, at least for some people.
so you mean if I call my pet a slave, that's triggering, but if I call it my best buddy, then it's all of a sudden just better.
Well, I mean, people are using terms. I don't have a problem with calling your cat a slave too much. It doesn't make much sense. It doesn't add or detract from what it is. You either uh, treat your cat well, you don't. It's not like anyone's ever gotten any useful work out of a cat, so
Mhm.
they don't.
Yeah, if you got like insect problems or mice problems or something in your house, then yeah, your cat will go to work for you
Yeah,
and kill
that's kind of
them. But
important.
mhm.
I just don't think that because there's associations to be made with ownership, because people bring up the fact of ownership when they're maybe doing something that's not so nice. Um, but ownership is basically based on who has it first, who's playing with it now. And if you abandon it, I mean, there does come a point when it's no longer yours, whoever comes across it. So that kind of works with animals. We interact with them, and you could say mine, and you could be mean about it, but the ownership is basically uh, your priority over other people's decision making on that matter. So if someone was into eating cats in your neighborhood, but they somehow respected you, then your ownership might be useful for the cat.
What do you think about like the more you domesticate animals and animal agriculture and all that stuff, the more you run risk of creating like bugs and diseases and sickness and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if it's completely tied up in domestication. I think domestication leads to having animals packed pretty densely. The density of the animals is probably a thing. So big nests of groundhogs might hold a disease because there's a big nest of them.
Yeah. What do you think about like things like well, you can obviously get like cat scratch fever or like toxoplasmosis from your cat, right? And you just need one, you know?
Yeah, so I've been around that. Now, the cat came from a large group of cats that I live next to a cat lady, and she's kind of getting rid of them. I don't know if that has anything to do with anything,
Hmm.
but the cats uh, gave this lady I know some swollen things. I don't know, lymph nodes or something,
Hmm.
and it is a little bit scary there. But I don't know
Yeah.
what to make of that.
There was I don't know what the laws are where you are, but in Thunder Bay, there was just a news report where they pulled 30 cats out of some lady's house, and she lived in an apartment building, and all the other tenants complained that you could just smell the what's it called? The urine smell, the ammonia, right, in the air and everything. And so they complained about it. They went in there, and there was just 30 cats just in terrible condition and stuff like that. And there's actually no law of how many pets you can actually have in Thunder Bay. You could have 100 pets as long as you're taking care of them. You could have 1,000.
Yeah.
That's pretty insane.
Yeah, I do think ownership of animals is just kind of basically encountering them. The concept of not owning them is not possible. There's some confusion between the state regulation or something it might dictate that wild animals be treated a certain way, but that's a kind of a claim of group ownership. So it's not escaping the idea of ownership. So
hold on, we got an update. Meteor Man just loved my comment, so he is aware that we're waiting for him on live stream, and let me just check his response here. What he's saying. I get what you're saying about ownership. I just kind of like the way I think of it is like people shouldn't. I know that they're like responsible for the world because they have the most power, right? But they should be like thinking about not trying to own them and not trying to even own like nature, really, right? You should own like your own piece of property, right, where you live. But like, do people actually need to own like bush areas? I guess they do nowadays, but they should kind of put it in reverse where there's people's land and then there's, and people just shouldn't be like allowed to screw with the land. Like there should be laws against screwing with the nature, but not
but you have to have a claim on it to say that I'm making this claim, it's mine, so I get to say not to do that. I mean, there can be this piece of land it's not really related to any country or something. And then who's in charge of saying that?
I think like the military or police should be in charge of it, right? Like, so if somebody goes in there, I guess, but like the individual person shouldn't be in charge of it because then they could do whatever they want with it, like plow it down, right? And they shouldn't be allowed to do that. There should be protectors.
Well, we live in a society, if you think of a democracy, that vegans are not going to be in the majority. So just because we take it away from the individual and put it in the group doesn't mean that the result is going to be better. So I wouldn't argue for any particular level of ownership.
All right, we got a comment from Meteor Man. Sorry to cut you off here. We got a comment saying, this ain't gonna work out. I got reaped into going to Walmart with the wife and in-laws, and if I tried to do a YouTube debate, I would get my ass chewed out and be in the doghouse all day. So
it happens.
But I mean, he could have gave some warning. I mean, also it's an hour late. I'm probably not going to plan a debate around Meteor Man anymore. If he shows up, he shows up. But I won't be, after the amount of times that he canceled today, I don't think he's a very reliable person. But this food is delicious. So yeah, I get what you're saying too about that. Sorry to cut you off there. You can finish your point if you want to.
Yeah, I just kind of mainly want to make that point.
So do you think people should own pets or no?
I don't think there's any way of avoiding ownership of an animal that interacts with people. So I could see that perhaps we would not consider something owned if no one's around it. But the ownership of pets is not an option. It exists.
So you think every animal is owned, basically? Because they're all like in a piece of land.
Unless you don't interact with it. I mean, and then it's kind of like first come, first serve as far as ownership.
So why do we need to interact with them?
Oh, I don't think we do necessarily. I think it'd be fine if there's wild areas where animals never saw a human.
Why not all of them, though?
Well, I mean, humans are pretty spread out. They take up a lot of area.
That's true. That's true. But like, you don't have to own like a squirrel or like a bird. Like where I live, I see tons of animals. I just saw some sort of a prairie dog going down the street when I was there. Like, just because it's there, it's like, I don't think anybody owns it, but you could still like look at it and be like, hey, what's up? What's up, guy?
I mean, there are some animals that basically escape view, but that so long as they stay out of your stuff, and I mean, you should be expected to put up reasonable walls and keep them out of things. Squirrels do cause problems, but you can sort of build around that. and sort of expect nature to happen. So
Yeah, we do have a rat problem around where I live, like not in the house, but like around this area. I saw
yeah.
a couple outside, and there was a news report about it. But luckily I have two cats, so they won't come in the house or they'll get murked.
I don't believe I have ever seen a rat in my lifetime. I don't know if it's just where I live or something, but
Hmm.
I've seen white rats and pets and things like that, but I don't think I've ever seen one in the wild or.
They're big. They're like this long,
Yeah.
and there's mice too. But this guy was coming out of my laundry chute where the dryer is, but you can't get in the house that way. So hopefully he's not like laying eggs in the laundry chute there, and taking craps in there.
Yeah. Eggs would be worse though, right?
Yeah, but they can't come in, so I don't know. Also, the cats would be going nuts just listening to them, but they're not. So I think it's all good.
So are we, I'm a little confused. Were we talking about rats or some sort of bird?
I have no idea.
Okay. I just heard eggs and the
Oh,
speculation's so
yeah.
funny.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I meant letter. Yeah, that's. I was like, what? Yeah. I don't know. This sucks because Meteor Man didn't show up. But for everybody who is here, I will be doing a live stream at 7:30, which is in 3 hours. We should have actually, I wasted your time too, which sucks. So sorry about that.
It was gone either way, so I enjoy spending time.
All right, yeah, and then I was also trying to get all these other people to come on here and have a big discussion, but nobody else is around either. So who knows? Who knows? And we pretty much agree on most things, so there's nothing really for us to debate. I'm not really too even concerned about the pet ownership anymore. I kind of like got my thoughts out
Yeah.
on my own channel there, and then if people want to listen to it, that's fine. But like I've already had like 6 debates on it. People are kind of sick of it, you know. So you can even look in the comments. They're like, "Oh, not again," right? I was trying to
Yeah.
get Wavy Carbs on because Wavy Carbs had some different opinions than other people, and then he never wanted to. So
Yeah, I do kind of view this slightly different than the pet ownership debate because it seems like there exist vegans who basically think that the concept of animal ownership and gives rise to such things as uh, factory farming or something
yeah,
like that. It's basically the opposite of veganism, but there's not much option for not owning animals.
mhm.
There are options for treating them differently, of course.
Yeah, I think it all has to do with just the use of animals, right? So if you're using animals, then you have the idea that I could use them for other things, and then where's the line, that's ethical, and then any individual can just choose to value their animal at whatever they want to value it at, which shouldn't be allowed either, right? And then just
Well,
there's
allowed as opposed to I'm not able to really regulate that is two different things. I, I'm not going to stick my force and point a gun at someone, and basically that's what you're doing here and using the government. It's like you're holding them hostage. That's slightly different, uh, but you know, I'm not going
well,
to
like
say it's okay.
yeah, like say the animal, like obviously it doesn't give consent, right? But then
No,
you could be just a piece of shit and be like, screw this dog, I don't care, kick it around, and nobody's gonna know because your dog's not even gonna leave the house and be able to tell anybody, right? So I mean, a kid could
yeah,
eventually do that, but your dog could just be kicked around for life, and that's kind of a sad thing to think about.
yeah. So that's an example where us saying that you can't do that or that's wrong, uh, while we oppose it publicly, it doesn't really allow us to deal with it or use the government or anything. So that's not an advantage for regulating either.
So do you think breeders should be abolished and just have rescues?
That's You know that you'd have to regulate what's the difference between saving a species or something like that. How many of any particular animal do you really need, and getting into lots of things.
What about like if they're making a profit?
Well, profit sounds good to me. That's how you get things to continue.
But like, so profits in
If you
any
don't want it
case
to
would be
continue, it
fine.
doesn't need a profit.
So like I could own human slaves as long as it makes a profit.
Well, do you want it to continue or not?
Well, I mean, if I was making, dollar bills, I might want to
Yeah, I mean,
add
but
stacks.
coming at it from the outside, if you want it to continue, it needs to make a profit. If you don't want slavery to continue, it doesn't need to make a profit.
Okay, so I don't want slavery to continue, and I don't want breeders to continue.
Yeah. Well, there's always the option of not buying from breeders, and that's one thing that vegans already employ.
Mhm.
I don't know how much regulation I want to put on it. You know, it's
I get the
pretty
feeling
commonly.
you don't like laws, right?
I don't much care for them now.
So like, what laws should go?
So
All of them?
yeah, I don't really, the guy we were talking to last time was basically saying that if there's not a law against it, then it's okay or something, and that isn't right either. Um, probably don't want to get into what all the language means, but he's talking about the context of the United States government and being a little biased that way. But speaking of the Constitution, we understand that these rights are not derived from the government. Specifically, it says they are come from our Creator, and they're unalienable rights. You can't remove them. So it doesn't really have anything to do with the fact that a law exists, that the rights are there.
So would you be happier living with milk jar and anarchy
Milk jar and anarchy.
in the jungle with milk jar?
Yeah. So, hmm, milk jar and anarchy. I don't know
Well, because
why. I
that's what he
mean,
wants, right? He wants no
so
laws too.
okay. So if I only get anarchy if I have to live with him, or is it that I have to live with him as well
Well, I
with
assume there would be
laws?
anarchy, right? Because there's crazy people out there.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know what to make of that. I'm not completely, thinking that there is going to be anarchy. It's just that I have no particular desire to bring on extra rules. So I understand the concept of a power vacuum, and it is often filled by something.
Yeah.
And so at the central core of a government is this basic warlord attitude that, there should be something motivated for maybe its own greed, like a king on top who gets to take his stuff or something. But, he only can get away with taking so much before he crushes everyone underneath him. So there's a limit to that. And he doesn't want to compete with others, so he gets rid of other competitors. So there's only one ruler taking your stuff.
Yeah. So if you got rid of all laws, wouldn't you just be going back like not back in time, but you're kind of like, reversing progress here. And then
Well, it depends on if you consider the law's progress. They only do some things. They say, okay, well, if I'm going to follow the rules, then this is how I do it. And they're just
yeah.
bunches of
Well,
guidelines.
well, doesn't statistics show that everybody's safer nowadays than they were before anyways?
Yeah, that might have something to do with meeting some of the more essential needs on the hierarchy, like safety and food and things like that. We have a lot of good capital that makes people respect the respect for property rights from which these things are derived.
So there's no laws, right? So somebody breaks into my grandma's house and shanks her. Nobody's around. She's dying on the floor. Police
Hmm.
don't exist because they don't have a job. What does she do? Just dies?
Yeah. So I guess nowadays we have some forensic technologies and stuff. Uh, that's kind of fits under the idea of getting rid of other oppressors. You want your society to function. So that is one of the more basic goals that really don't need to be voted on. A ruler would say, yeah, I don't really want this type of thing to exist, and I do want this type of thing to exist where we're all productive and we work together.
So what would happen though? She would just die, right?
Well, if she gets stabbed and killed, yeah, she dies.
Okay. Well, that doesn't sound like a good society. So
Well, I
then
mean,
also
it doesn't
if
follow
you're
that that would exist, not exist somewhere else. I mean, are you saying that they do that because that I have said that there are no consequences?
well, there's definitely people that would, like especially in Thunder Bay when
Well, I'm
if
not.
somebody said, well, the police aren't going to come if you go rob somebody's house and stab them, there'd be a lot more
Yeah,
robbings and stabbings.
I'm not for the removal of considering life, liberty, and property as something useful, but I think that that almost doesn't need a law to say.
Well, how would she
So
get protected though?
so there are the options of grouping together in bands. You have your family. That's pretty fundamental and is basically always existed. And if some ruler wants to have more organized force that can uh, kind of have the same role as uh, protecting his turf, then that's something that often happens.
Yeah. Well, here's the problem I see though. So some lady gets stabbed, right?
Yeah.
And she's all alone in her house, and nobody in your family is a doctor, right? Or
Hmm.
an ambulance driver, right? Or anything like that. But then the real ambulance drivers, if they do exist, they don't want to show up because they could get stabbed. So they need to show up with police first, but the police don't exist.
So, what do you mean the police don't exist?
Well, you're saying that there's no laws, so why would there be police?
Maybe because they're useful. Maybe people recognize that that would be a good thing to have, and they help pay for it. If
Okay.
it's private or public, it's still a thing.
So you're just paying like bounty hunters, basically. Personal bounty hunters.
Yeah, that could be a thing. Mercenary type things. Yeah.
So your grandma gets stabbed. You got to get on the phone. First, you got to call the bounty hunters.
Well, first
They
you got
got
to
to,
call the police too. So, I mean, that's not a disadvantage.
oh, no, but then they can contact, they have a whole outfit where it's like the fire truck, the ambulance, it's all connected, right? So they know who to send, all this stuff, right? But then now you got to figure out that you got to send the bounty hunters first while grandma's bleeding to death. And then after they get there, then you could call the ambulance and then maybe they show up. And meanwhile, this all costs you, an arm and a leg. You don't have the money and then grandma dies too. It just
Well,
doesn't seem fair.
the money comes from somewhere in the current system. The money coming from
Yeah.
somewhere under a different system seems just as reasonable to me.
But you have to have a bunch of money saved in order to protect yourself. So,
Or you could each just chip in a little bit. I mean, it's not like we have police officers for everyone.
yeah, but the idea is like you don't have to be walking around with stacks of cash just in case you get stabbed.
There are ways of solving that. You can do something like insurance where you pay protection money to your local mafia.
Do a lot of people agree with this idea, or is it just something you
I
thought of?
mean, yeah, there's quite a few people.
I never thought about it. I need like a big detailed plan to go over like that guy's 14-page essay, and then I'll
Yeah.
be able to read it all and see if it's a good idea.
So a problem of paying is still a thing, no matter what system you go through. So just because you uh, think, oh, well, the government pays for it. I mean, that money comes from somewhere. It comes out
Yeah.
of people's pockets. So the problem of paying for it still exists.
Yeah.
You could
I'm just thinking
each,
you could pay later though, right? You don't have to have the money on you. That's all I was thinking. You don't have to have it on you.
yeah. So you could, yeah, you could pay up ahead of time, pay afterward, or whatever they accept. I mean, you can make any arrangement you want, basically.
Hmm. So what's better right now, the way America has their healthcare system or Canada?
I haven't paid attention to American healthcare system, but I'm not sure if they took anything away or what. But I haven't bothered to participate in it. So
You live in America, right?
yeah,
Oh, so you know more about the Canadian healthcare system?
no.
Oh,
I mean, I just kind of assumed that it's okay or something.
hmm.
I
You
mean,
never you haven't been to the hospital or anything and had to pay giant bills?
no. I
Oh.
mean, I actually anything I do, I pay for it myself. So
Hmm.
um, yeah, there's no giant bills.
I used to
I
have all sorts of broken bones and stuff when I was a kid and totally messed myself up. And I would thank God that the hospital's free because I would be in debt for the rest of my life.
mm,
I had like a bunch of broken bones, like appendix, blew up. Like I had my wisdom teeth pulled and tonsils out and adenoids, and then also hernias, all sorts of things. So I would be like $1 million in debt by now.
yeah, that may or may not be. Um, there are ways of insuring for things in a private system, of course, and uh, just because this is the way it's done, sometimes you could have, if you're working under a different system, maybe got a discount bone setting and things like that. You could shop around and probably would shop around if you had to pay for it yourself.
Hmm.
I mean, how much did they actually do to fix your bones? It's like,
Well, they had to inject morphine into my shoulder here and then into my wrist, and then they had two nurses grab here, and they had to pull it apart because the bones slipped over top of one another. And then they
wow.
pulled it apart and reset it, and then they had to give me a big cast and a sling and everything. So it was quite a little bit of work for the
Yeah.
arm,
I
anyways.
mean, what do you think that costs, though?
I don't know. And then I
So,
broke my nose, and then I had to, get put under where they put it back into place when you're asleep. I'm sure the anesthesia costs a lot.
yeah.
I also broke the growth plate on my ankle. I forget what they had to do for that. They almost had to put screws in it because I was 21, but they said you
Hmm.
got like a year left of growing. I broke a finger one time. It went like all the way back, and they had to put a finger cast, but that's pretty cheap.
Yeah. So I don't really know what to tell you about the expenses, but sometimes they just kind of keep going up and up, basically because there's no place that regulates what they should cost. So people don't shop around. People don't necessarily innovate. People don't feel concerned about the price since they don't personally pay it.
Hmm.
So there's just things that go wrong in our system. Why they want you to force you to get insurance. That's interesting. But then they also have some something that requires the insurance company to basically accept you no matter what state you're in. So if you're expecting to have a big uh, bill or something, it's like, okay, well, we can't turn you down. So that shoots up the rates on it to basically cover that cost. And whenever you're a consumer of that, it's like, why would I bother to pay for insurance when I don't need to, especially when it's this expensive already? Why would I bother to pay for it? So you come in when you need it, and then you get the insurance. So it's not insurance anymore.
Yeah.
Insurance is insuring things that you don't know are going to happen, and you're forced to pay it by the consideration of the fact that you might not be able to pay for it. But there's nothing forcing you to do it before you really need it, and it's no longer insurance. So,
Yeah.
people don't get food insurance in case they get hungry. They're going to get hungry. There's
Yeah, I
no need.
realized how shady insurance is too recently. Like, so, vegans have already kind of figured out, like, the meat industry just wants to make money off you and gets you sick. They don't care as long as they get money. And then the antibiotics industries, putting all this money into the animal feed, and then medications, all the vaccines, all these things, you wouldn't necessarily need if you weren't dying from all these harmful things that you're eating all the time. But then on top of that, like insurance companies, they'll give you a crappy premium if your cholesterol is high. So they know that everybody's cholesterol is going to be high, and like unless they're on statins or they're vegan, so they're just jacking everybody because like everybody's got high ass cholesterol because they eat meat all the time.
Well, it costs something, and they're able to evaluate that. They look at cholesterol, and that's something that they can put you into different risk groups. So
yeah, it's kind of a
that's good
conspiracy
for
though,
vegans.
because yeah, it definitely is. It's a conspiracy
that's
though
good for
because
vegans.
people don't have the information, right? That meat is doing that to them, and
Yeah.
so it is like a real conspiracy out here.
So that's just showing you that basically insurance isn't shady. The information, I don't know why they'd want to hide it. They want to get you doing good things that cost you whatever you want to pay, or bad things that cost more, just so long as they make a margin. But if they're putting your incentives in the right place, they're doing good by you.
Yeah, they should be like, if they were honest, and somebody figured it out, which probably somebody has somewhere in the insurance company, and be like, hey, we should tell people to eat plants so they get a cheaper premium instead of these
Yeah,
statins, but
I
then they
think
lose
that
money.
exists, but I'm not sure about it.
Yeah.
I haven't bothered to look into where.
Hmm.
I just
Yeah.
enjoy my lack of going to the doctor.
What do you think about activism? Like, do you go out and do activism or no?
Oh no, I don't really. I probably could reach out and find someone in Missouri or something, but no,
Hmm.
not unless you count on YouTube. My main concern is human health and things like that. So,
What do you like? Are you against it though, or you would actually just do it?
oh, I don't guess I have a problem with it.
Hmm. What do you think about people who smash animal agriculture equipment?
Yeah, that's not very good. That's just basically pulling trouble down on your head. Those hanging out with you.
But in a world of no laws, it would be all good.
I don't think that's how no laws works.
You'd get shot.
No laws. It's like it's not like things just became right or wrong because the law's around. So
Yeah.
uh,
There would be a lot of raping, I would assume.
I don't. I don't know. Yeah, I suppose since there is raping, there probably would be raping. I don't know anything about uh, no laws that would change that.
Do you think
But
Milk Jar would go out and rape if the laws were abolished?
if the consequences were removed, I don't know what to tell you about that. I would think there would be more. But
Yeah.
laws and consequences are two different things.
So what do you think about filming secretly inside of a animal agriculture building? Is that wrong too?
I think it might be considered trespassing and get you into trouble, but I don't. I think it is telling if they're not okay with having the pictures taken. I
Is
don't.
it
I don't.
equally
I
as
don't think there'd be anything proprietary in there that they claim.
yeah?
So
Is it equally as bad as destroying equipment, or because they're both against the law? They're
yeah.
both. I
So
think.
I
Yeah.
respect one more than the other, of course. I'm
You
not sure.
respect filming more than destroying? Destroying's fun though.
Yeah, destroying might be fun, but you should buy the equipment off of them and then destroy it.
Yeah, but then they get more money though.
But they're not
Yeah,
getting it for killing animals.
they got to use more of their own money to rebuy the equipment, right? And so then
Yeah.
they're losing money. That's what we want. Go out of business.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's the way to go about it. You can make them go out of business by not purchasing it. That's an option. Making everybody not purchase it is a little bit different.
So I just made a response video to some lady that I'm posting right after this, where she said that you shouldn't be going up to people and judging them, and you should be trying to change the laws, all while she's posing with a thing of animal agriculture meat in the thumbnail. What do you
Yeah.
think about changing the laws compared to judging?
I think judging is way better than changing laws.
That's what I think too. Shaming. That's what you said last time. Shame
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. Shame. And yeah, that's great stuff. That's where it all begins. Putting it on, oh, well, go change the laws. Don't try to change people's minds. It basically doesn't make any sense at all because you're not going to change any laws without changing people's minds. And changing laws is just, you know.
Let's get Angela Smith in here to debate. She's like a woman Meateor Man.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fine, I guess.
I'm pretty sure. There's a couple Angelas. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong Angela, but I'm pretty sure that's the female Meateor Man. Hopefully I'm not wrong. Don't want to call a vegan lady that.
Yeah, I've never heard of a female raw meat eater or anything. Is that what we're talking about, or just?
Okay, maybe she isn't. My bad if you're not. Are you a raw meat eater or a meat eater or a vegan? There's too many Angelas and they confuse me all the time. I apologize if you're the vegan Angela, I apologize. I swear there's two Angela Smiths. And you need an avatar so I could tell. Put like a vegan leaf on there or something. That would be helpful. Or a big piece of steak if you're a meat eater. Then I'll know.
Yep, that would be helpful. Never heard of a female primal dieter. I would imagine.
There's tons.
I would imagine it would cause problems.
Yeah, there's tons. I've been researching it because me, Plantain, and Conscious Omnivore are doing like a 3-person collab on debunking Agenus Vonderplanets. And I was looking up the primal diet, and there's a website called The Primal Parent, and it says primal moms, primal kids, primal diet or something, right? And she sells books, this lady, on how to look good naked when you're pregnant on the primal diet and all this stuff. It's crazy. And I guess she encourages that you eat raw meat when you're pregnant and feed it to your kids. But the craziest thing is, like, these people don't even eat just raw meat. They eat like meat that's been rotting for over a month on the counter, and it just looks absolutely disgusting. Like, it's this guy, you got to look this up. He was on the Doctor Show. If anybody hasn't seen this, look up the Doctor Show, Angelus Vonderplanets, and look up Ripley's Believe It or Not, Angelus. They had him on there too, and because his diet's so disgusting. Yeah, you can believe it or not. No, I'm not a vegan. See, I knew it. What do you mean, excuse me? Nor do I eat raw meat. Okay, well, you're just a regular. I mean, you're probably in worse shape than Meateor Man. You're cooking your meat. That's even worse. At least he's got lucky and not died from the bacteria.
Yeah, so one of the first things that I had learned before I went vegan is on that upward and leading causes of death at the how a chicken interacts with women. So I imagine.
Really?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Oh, you know that there's.
Eating chicken. I thought you meant like how a chicken like.
Yeah, it's not even the eating chicken. It's just preparing the chicken in the house. You know, you sort of somehow get that bacteria in your digestional tract, and then it comes out and messes ladies up. So
Yeah, I heard about that with dioxin from cow's milk on What the Health was the first time I
well,
heard about that.
this is basically the infection or something.
Hmm.
It's not exactly a toxin.
What do you think about unions?
So have you heard me talk about unions with someone?
No, I was just going to tell a story about some lady gave a speech at this union meeting about pregnancy, but then I wondered what you thought about
Yeah.
unions.
Well, I don't have a problem with unions just so long as a company can fire them.
So, yeah,
Like,
that's like
if they
what they
can be
need to
fired, that's
screw up
fine.
like three times or something.
What's that?
They need to screw up like three times or something. Like, how does a union work?
Oh, I have no idea. I think a union might involve some government recognition or something that these are the people you got to negotiate with,
Hmm.
and they're allowed to do something. I have no idea. But
Yeah.
if you're allowed to fire and hire whoever you want, and I don't have any problem with unions.
Yeah, I was in unions before, but the only advantage from it was that you get like free dental care, all right? Because there's already free healthcare here, but then once you get past like childhood, you have to pay for your own dentistry. So
Hmm.
that was good to have that for free. Uh, Other than that, I never used a union for jack shit. But then my wife is a nurse, so she's in a union, and she got a free trip. We both of us and her whole family got a free trip to Toronto to this awesome beach for this thing called Unifor. I don't know if anybody's heard of it from Canada, but it's like this huge union thing. And we got to do all this like amazing stuff there. But then we had to sit in a classroom for a couple hours a day and learn about union stuff and sing union songs and all this crazy stuff. But there was a lady who came in and gave a speech, and there's like 300 people watching, and she was talking all about how chemicals in your house are so harsh and you need to worry about how they destroy the environment, and they one little chemical can get inside the womb and like cause like the baby to have all these problems and everything if you have these household cleaners and everything. And so they're passing the microphone around, and I was trying to get my wife to take the video or my phone from me and said, videotape this. I'm going to ask her about veganism and whatever. And the microphone never came to me. So I was, I was bummed about that, but it's just like such a hypocritical speech, like the whole thing being like, you really need to be concerned about these stupid things. And meanwhile, everybody's like having a, pork supper right afterwards. So yeah. Unions.
So, Angela, uh, maybe we'll talk with her sometime. I don't know, but
Angela
now's
eats
not the time.
Angela
She's
eats meat. She's making supper. She says she's hungry. I don't know. Hunger and fear were in the same, but I've talked to her before, and she always talks smack in the comments to everybody,
uh,
and that's how I recognize the name. And she always refuses to actually, debate or whatever on live stream. So
so give up on that, huh?
yeah, screw you, Angela.
But feel free to watch all his videos.
You better subscribe to Thaddeus too for being a punk in the comments.
Yeah, I probably don't put out too much videos, so maybe that's easy to sub, and I'm not sure what I'll do with her sub. Probably nothing.
Is everybody sub to Thaddeus in the comments here? You should be, hopefully. I wish like it would get shared the same. I don't know how the YouTube algorithm does it, but like when I post a video, I'll have a bunch of people watching, but then when I share a video, like on my YouTube, like what you were saying earlier, where it says congrats or whatever, if I share that, it's like it only goes out to some people. I don't know if it's the notification bell people or whatever, but
That
YouTube
seems
sucks.
somewhat reasonable.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Everyone should get all of my posts. I don't get it.
I think UV was describing what that meant at the end of her description of the new Ben and Jerry's flavors.
What are the new Ben and Jerry's flavors?
Cinnamon something and some other things.
I've never had Ben and Jerry's ice cream once, so like
Yeah.
I don't know. It probably just tastes like ice cream used to taste, right? Like when I had it before. I'm not really excited, but like even when I ate ice cream, I would just have vanilla like before. So I
Yeah.
don't really care about all the flavors.
I appreciate their existence in theory, but I understand that they're not good for you. Just like basically ice cream's not good for you. Maybe maybe just a little bit better, but what's the difference? I do
What's
like
worse for you, coconut ice cream or a garlic bulb?
coconut ice cream's my guess because all the saturated fat.
I'll have to think about that.
Seeing as how garlic is one of the healthiest foods, it's kind of hard to.
A
It's kind of
bulb
hard.
though? A
Yes.
whole bulb? Just to eat a
Well,
garlic bulb?
I really don't think that's going to cause a problem. I mean, if you cook it, I mean, that's going to be pretty tasty.
It destroys your gut bacteria.
Huh. I mean, could be.
It's an
I,
antibiotic and it gives you garlic AIDS.
huh. I was having a discussion with some guy, and we were diagnosing each other, and he told me I had P. pylori or some sort of bacteria because I was describing my problems before I was vegan, and it's like describing how well my digestion works now, and um, comparing the differences in the output and things like that, and
Mhm.
describing how sometimes I really couldn't make anything go down. It just kind of set in my stomach for long periods of time, and
Yeah.
I could make it go down with alcohol. I'd get just like a shot, nothing to get you drunk or anything, but a shot would just make it go down.
Wow. Never heard
And
of that.
so he described it as some sort of bacteria, and the fact that I haven't had that problem since being on the vegan diet wasn't enough. He's thinking I still have it and need to get some antibiotics, and so
Hmm. You mean like probiotics or
no
antibiotics?
antibiotics because just I don't think he's thinking that you can displace it with good bacteria. I think he just thinks you need to kill it all and start it all over or something.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't know if it's true or not, but he thinks I'm going to get stomach cancer because of it. And so if I get stomach cancer as a vegan, then we know that it was all that time before being vegan.
I never heard of drinking alcohol to get down food. Like
Well, I think
that's a
it kind of works, and I don't know why, because of and I mean it just does, and it's a specific problem. If you don't have, I mean, if it's just sitting in your gut, then it might actually work. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but compared to dehydrating, it's it's good. So I wouldn't really puke much. I might puke just because I think I ought to, but it wasn't really based on that. It's just oh well, it's just sitting there and it's not going anywhere.
sounds like bad news. So I mean
No, I don't have problems.
alcohol kills your gut bacteria too, right? So you're having garlic, you're having alcohol. You drink coffee too? That probably kills your gut back.
No, I
Yeah.
don't really drink coffee. Never have.
You know? That's the only thing like besides like occasional junk food or something, right? It'd be coffee would be the only thing that I really need to cut out of my diet, but whatever. YOLO. I like coffee. What do you think about coffee? Do you think it's AIDS?
There are better things to be drinking. That's what Dr. Greger says. That's all he says about that.
Hmm.
And when you're putting things down, you're just putting them down, relatively speaking. So he'd probably rather you ate meat than uh, whatever that Crisco is. That it's pure trans fat.
Do you hate Dr. Greger's videos, how he changes his mind and they're all cliffhangers?
Changes his mind. No,
Yeah,
I haven't
like
noticed
about
that.
avocados or like about there's been a few things that I've watched where he changes his mind. Like it's probably like a year or two later, and then he just reads a new study and he's like, "We got new information about this now."
Yeah,
Right?
that's basically what you have to do. You have to, if you're going to claim to be evidence based, you got to look at evidence. And
Yeah. Yeah, I just
so,
remember the videos though, and I was like, too bad I told everybody what you told me, Gregor, 4 years ago, and now I can't find the video and it's deleted, and now I see a new one where you're saying it's wrong. That's but yeah, I
yeah,
see what you're saying.
I'm not. not sure he ever said avocados are not good for you, but he did talk about something that if you like add it directly, bypass the digestive system. If you add it directly, it does seem to cause problems. But we do have a long history of people eating avocados, so there's no indication.
He didn't say don't eat it, but he said wait, right, until there's more information. So he basically put everybody in fear of like, oh my God, should I eat this avocado for like a year? And then he's like, no, they're good. Turns out they're fine. But it's like for a whole year, people are shitting their pants wondering whether they should be eating the avocados or not because they cause cancer. But
yeah,
it's all good. That's Gregor for you. I like his Q&A videos though, where he does like the rapid fire questions.
Yeah, he had a pretty good interview here that I don't think it was reposted or anything, but it's like some British thing. There's like just it looked kind of like they were interviewing each other in some sort of British attic with lots of British memorabilia or something, bulldogs and flags or something. But yeah, he talked about a few things, and it's like some mistakes he made, like eating berries and poisoning himself. And then
oh yeah, I watched that.
He also said that he was deficient in D.
Yeah, there's a trainer at my work who didn't even he's been vegan for a year and a half, and I was like, awesome, I didn't even know that. But then I was like, do you take any supplements? He said no, and I was like, oh shit, you should take something like D, B12.
Yeah, those are pretty important. Our recent encounter with what's her name, she thinks somehow that there's D in significant levels in animal products or something, and that's not going to fix any problems she has. She might be confused that we just went through winter. I'm not sure when she took the test for vitamin D, but yeah, winter, it doesn't matter how much sun you get. If it's passing through too much atmosphere, there isn't any in the right wavelength going to reach you. So
yeah, you ever watch Dr. Tell Oren?
No, I keep hearing you talk about him. Maybe I should actually look him up.
You should. He's like he talks about like he's a skin doctor, like a skin specialist. So his whole idea is like, I know he's got tons of credentials, but that's like one of the main ones. And he talks about like, how you can't get vitamin D like in the northern region, but then also in the winter. And then like, even if you could in areas like people are in school during those times and they should be like going outside to get some sunlight and stuff like that. All the kids are in school, people are in work, things like that, right? So nobody even gets it, even where they can get it. But he always talks about like how your skin is perfectly like related to the inside of your body. So if you got tons of skin problems, that's because of what you're eating, right? Because of like chemical reactions and even birthmarks. People call them beauty marks, but they're not beauty marks. They're actually chemical reactions from something terrible that either your mother put in her body or that you put in your body, right?
Yeah. So I've got some skin issues that basically resolved this elbow here. I don't have any problems right now that I can point out to you. It's all pretty, but this one here, there's a little spot right there.
That's the booze.
Yeah, right there. And then I probably had something on this other elbow, but it's basically all gone. So I have a little color to my cheeks, but I have a long history of them being really, really red. So, this is much improvement. If I don't eat so much, I think it turns me a lot paler and I look like a normal person.
That could be just because you're white, right? So white people have a hard time with sunlight, period.
Oh, well, this is not a sunlight problem. This is just, my cheeks just start glowing bright red. That's something I don't really have a problem with. So I guess the chicken bumps or whatever.
Yeah.
Quite a bit better these days. Acne's gone down quite a bit. And my skin is a lot more beautiful these days. I just kind of wish I'd been vegan all my life. Maybe wouldn't have those stretch marks.
Yeah. You know what I noticed? Like when I was eating a lot of meat, like lifting weights and stuff, I used to, when I worked out for like 2 hours, I would get like heat rashes after the gym. Like it would be red blotches everywhere. And the doctor would be like, oh, that's normal from like, like say you sit in a sauna or like you're in a hot
Hmm.
room or something like that. That's normal. But then as soon as I went vegan, they all just went away. I never got them again. And it turns out it wasn't normal. So it turns out it was totally diet. And then also, I find like my skin is like more durable now. When I went running, I go running and then I would wear like, say something was like a little bit chafy, right? Like you got like shoes, socks, underwear, whatever is like chafing you in a certain area and you're like trying to adjust or whatever. I would have like redness or like some kind of rash or whatever from the chafe for like a week. Now I've never gotten like a chafe anywhere from anything. Like it's just like unbelievable difference in skin like durability. And he say like the Tell Orn guy says like, there's like a layer on the there's so many layers of skin, right? And if you damage the layer on the inside, right, where the from all the food and what you've been eating and the blood and everything like that, and the inside's damaged and not as durable, then it makes the outside not as durable too. So like if you do get, chafed or you get hit with the sun, then you're gonna get sunburned way more easily than you would have if you were eating healthy.
Yeah. So I also had some skin issues I think might be somewhat related. So like 20 years ago, I was like wearing earplugs and maybe wearing the same old ones, and that kind of got irritating for my ears or something. And I had ear problems in there. There's another spot, but there's also a spot like under my eye or something that the skin was just kind of peely and would kind of wash off. It's like water soluble skin or something. It was a little weird. And
Yeah.
so for the ears and another place is like 20 years. It's just solid. I just continue to have it. Sometimes it would get a little worse or something and maybe crack and bleed a little bit,
Hmm.
but it just never went away. But now it goes away. And I've had a return, like if I play around with my ear or something, uh, it can come back, but it goes away.
Hmm. Yeah, I got like because I live in Canada, when I go running outside, my heels get incredibly cracked because it's so cold, and that's just like unfixable. I don't know. I can't. It's just because I live in a terrible environment, and then also like just you can't help like the sun hitting your face when you're running for like 3 hours. But the mucus too, like when you get when you're talking about earwax and mucus stuff like that lowers once you get off dairy and animal products and all that stuff. But then Michael Arnstein, who's the ultra marathon runner, he says once you eat all fruits, then all your mucus goes away. I
Yeah.
don't know. I never tried
So,
it, but
so checking out the comments, Angela says veganism doesn't prevent stretch marks; it's hereditary. Yeah, that may or may not be. I have no idea. I have no way of testing that I'm
I know
aware of,
what it is.
unless I was going to eat tons and tons of plant food. I'm just talking about the fact that I grew so massive. Just
Yeah,
the just the obesity of it all.
that's what it is. But it's rapid growth, but then on top of that, you need to be extremely hydrated not to get stretch marks. So if you're a little bit dehydrated, the stretch marks get worse. And you could tell that just by when people put lotion on their stretch marks, they get a little bit better because you're hydrating the area. But if you were to just be perfectly hydrated all the time, it would help the stretch marks and it would have helped to not get them. But
Yeah.
that's, I mean, what is it? 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated. So everybody's dehydrated out there.
Yeah, I imagine that. I mean, I've heard this elsewhere, so I'm not putting down what Angela said, but that's just what I was referring to when I said that. Uh, I think it's possible that stretch marks could be hereditary, but yeah, I've thought a lot of things are hereditary, and there might be something to it, but uh, I've encountered the fact that many things just work a lot better when you eat plants. So
Yeah. I learned a lot about stretch marks from lifting weights, because if you look at all these big YouTubers, right, when they take steroids, they grow really fast, right? And so one of the big issues that they have is, you know, when you get on stage, you got to be looking perfect and everything, and you can't have stretch marks. So they have all these tutorial videos on how to hydrate yourself properly when you're on the juice and growing rapidly and everything, so you don't get these stretch marks, because it doesn't look good. You know, they got the spray tans and everything that helps cover it up, but it doesn't always work. Especially get them right here, from the armpit area, because people will bench a lot, right, and their chest will grow really fast.
Yeah, that's where I got them.
Yeah.
That's me.
Hitting the bench press?
Yeah, I did. I think I got up to bench press max of 280.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that, maybe 290. So I have before bench pressed 225 10 times, and that's probably the best I've ever done.
Yeah, that's more than me. I had 275, so you did 5 pounds more than I ever did.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was talking about the 10 times thing, but yeah, I see.
Yeah, yeah, women will get them right, you know, in the sides or whatever, right, from pregnancy. But
yeah,
I mean, it's really hard to be perfectly hydrated too when you're having a kid. And the boobies get them too.
Yeah, I've heard, you know, things, and then I just repeat them back to people, and then I got corrected on it. But you know, like telling people about cocoa butter or shea butter or something, they say, "Oh, it's just genetic," and some people get it. I don't expect to. So that may or may not be.
Yeah, I mean, and then also like skin durability too probably has a big thing with just overall diet too. Like if you got a shitty diet, like what I was saying, you know, the inner layer of your skin is probably damaged, so you're probably more susceptible to stretch marks if you're on a crappier diet.
Yeah, I would assume that there may be a genetic component to it, and then if there is, that doesn't mean that the diet's not going to fix it. Just like you're not going to expand as quickly if you're shoving lots of fiber in there. That's one thing that it's hard to ignore. But you know, it might just be that there are other factors as well with the nature of the food. Angela's pulling the no diet, no one diet good for everybody argument. You're doing well on a certain diet doesn't mean everyone else will at Thaddeus. So I think people understand that because of some experiences that they don't understand, that one diet's not good for everybody, especially people who are into keto or something, and they'll notice a problem with carbs, but that problem with carbs doesn't come from eating carbs. It comes from eating lots of fat in your diet and being fat and things like that that messes up your ability to process carbs. Another things people think they're different is because they fart more or something, but that's more like the bacteria that you've been growing. So I'm not sure what she's looking at to think that when she has a problem eating carbs, and then there's all these Asians that eat rice all day long that don't have a problem with it, and they're all skinny. I mean, she just can't make any connection. There's no applicability between results of one person and results of another. Basically removing all scientific process. Every human is very closely related.
Yeah, farting and gas, you know, like they're a sign that your diet sucks, because like if you look at like you know, all of nature's like balanced. I made this argument against all the anti-natalists that everything's, you know, in a perfect balance. Your stomach's in a perfect balance too. So if you eat raw fruits, right, by the time you're stuffed, you're gonna be like you're just gonna piss it out, right? Because it's like all water, right? Unless you're eating like all avocados and bananas. Bananas are hybrids anyways, but like if you're eating, you know, other fruits, you're just gonna pee it out. You're not gonna get fat. Like there's no all, you know, 100% fruitarians out there that somebody could show me that this guy is just a complete fatso. Like That
I don't
doesn't.
think you pee out any calories. Not
No,
sure.
the water, right? So like,
Okay.
so your stomach will get full, right? Because of the water. There's so much water content that you won't
Hmm.
be able to fit any more in there. You'll be like, I'm good, right? And be satisfied. But then you're just gonna, for the next, however long, be peeing out the excess of the water. Even if you try to stuff yourself, there's only so much room in your stomach, right? So the thing about cooked foods, you could stuff more in there because it's only like how they have the diagram of the oil and then they have the vegetables and it's like look how much fat I could put in there. It's the same thing with cooked foods. Like I could put way more in there because the water content is sucked out of it. And then that's when you start farting and stuff like that. That's your body, reacting to like more food than it should be, and then also the type of food too. Like so, whatever it is. So the balance is off if you're farting like crazy all day. And yeah, there's
Yeah.
other reasons for farting though.
Yeah. If you haven't been eating beans in a while and you start eating beans, you expect to be bloated. Uh, I just eat beans. Um,
Mhm.
Angela says some people don't do well on certain carbs, and yeah, the more simple the carb, the less the fiber, the more it's going to spike your blood sugar. And I can handle white potato, whereas I couldn't before. That's a temporary thing. So white potato is a test of my ability to process carbohydrates. And it has been bad in the past, and it's much better now.
You want to hear
So
the side effects of keto? Hypoglycemia, constipation, diarrhea, frequent urination, drowsiness and dizziness, muscle cramps, sugar cravings, flu-like symptoms, sleep problems, keto breath, heart palpitations, hair loss, reduced strength and physical performance. That sounds like it works for everybody.
yeah, sounds like a recipe for diverticulitis.
Sounds like a commercial where it's like, do you have problems with your sleep? Well, this will fix your sleep, but it'll give you all of these things.
Yeah, it's
And death. They always have death too at the end. And death.
Thaddeus is from Missouri. Okay.
I'm from Fargo, don't you know? All right.
It's within the realm of possibility that many people do better on an omnivorous diet. No, you
Do
just
better.
you just imagine that's the case. I don't know what she thinks that she's going to get from eating meat, but
I'm
it's
one
not.
of them.
Yeah, I don't know how she measures. Oh, but they do better.
Yeah, I mean, have you gone on first of all, a vegan diet for a year, and then went on like say a whole foods plant-based diet for a year, and then tried like a mainly fruit diet for a year, and then you weighed all these things out, and you were like, yeah, this meat one's the best. I did all this stuff, and I did everything perfect on every single diet, and this meat one is just a killer. Like, no, you didn't do that. You're just guessing. And then even if you do feel good on the meat diet, you could get cancer or heart disease tomorrow. So there. Screw you, Angela.
Poor Angela getting picked on. I think she's. I mean, this is something that I've heard from many people. It's not like she's all alone. I
I'm just
mean,
kidding, Angela.
it's not like we don't think that you have any reasons for thinking that. Um, okay, so everyone who eats meat is unhealthy. Lol, that's just absurd.
No, it's absolutely not absurd because quality of life is reduced as soon as you eat meat. As soon as you stick it in your body, your blood starts getting screwed up. You basically turn into a pile of shit as soon as you put meat in your mouth.
Yeah, there are some effects that happen immediately that are quite measurable, and I think it is mainly related to the types of pathogens and whatever that's on it, and it can depend on what your gut bacteria are like. The gut bacteria that you grow when you eat meat is the bacteria that causes problems when you eat meat. So I think that there's a slight difference between a vegan who would eat some meat and someone who is into eating meat, but just the gut bacteria itself plays a huge role in your health.
Mm. I was watching this Sweet Natural Living video. You ever watch that guy?
I've heard of it, but I've never thought about that person being a guy. So I guess I've never really watched.
He had a really good video where he was talking about um, so like before he used to eat tons of vegan junk food like vegan pizzas, vegan hamburgers, whatever, and it'd be no problem with his stomach, right? He'd eat it, no, not a big deal. But then he went on an all fruit diet, and he feels great or whatever, right? But as soon as he eats like a vegan pizza, then all of a sudden he has stomach problems. He just feels terrible, and then he thinks back and he goes, "Oh well, before I used to be able to handle all of this vegan pizza and vegan junk food and everything. It was no problem. Like, was my body stronger like back then, and now it's just all weak? And really, it's the complete opposite. So, like, if you think of it as a smoker, so if you smoke your first cigarette, you'll be like, right? But if you keep smoking, then all of a sudden smoking works for you and it's good for you, right? Same with alcohol, anything else, it becomes normal and your body just accepts it. And you're like, oh, this is working for me. But that doesn't mean cigarettes are good for you. But then when you go off the cigarettes, the same thing will happen. Your body becomes stronger and then learns to reject and give you a warning symbol when these bad things are being put in there. And they'll be like, cough and be like, this isn't good for you. Get it, and give you a warning.
Angela's thriving on her diet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thriving on math, right?
Yeah.
Math works for me.
So, yeah, I was talking to one guy about, just digging into something. He just kept asking the stupidest questions and framing it in the stupidest way, I think on purpose. When I'm saying that, I think he might have even been a vegan or something, just pretending otherwise. Who knows? So I'm not putting him down. That's just his tactic. So we got pretty deep into it, and he's trying to pick on me about something. We went back and forth on cheese, and I said, not only does cheese have no fiber, it also displaces foods that you could eat because of the amount of calories. You're only allowed so many calories. And he's saying, "No, I wasn't planning on eating a whole bunch of fiber anyway," or something like that. And it's like, I don't know what that's anything.
Yeah.
But it's talking about cancer and how it helps regulate the amount of sex hormones like estrogen and testosterone, and I told him that it does regulate the amount, but yes, he made it drag out, and so he got into every single detail, and he finally looked up the study, and he couldn't exactly read it right. So the menstrual cycle was like 0.75 days longer, and so he took that they bleed longer or something. That's not the understanding of it. This is the monthly cycle we're talking about. So that's longer, but the time that they bleed and cramp and have problems is much lessened. So that's something that is one of the more immediate effects that I think Angela should probably consider looking into. She's talking about thriving, but maybe she just doesn't know how much better life could be.
Yeah. Cramping, I heard, like, goes away completely for some people too. Like, they have really bad menstrual cramps and everything. The one thing you said there, though, like about you could have put other foods in there. That's what Dr. Taloran always talks about. Is about like if you eat, like say potatoes, right? Like all the time, like the potato diet, right? But then you look at, say, greens. Like greens are just packed with nutrients per like the size of it, right? Like it's very small, packed with tons of nutrients. So why would you be eating, all these potatoes and all these high calorie foods with small amounts of nutrients when you could be putting all these high nutrient foods in there. So like you should be eating like tons of greens, all different types, like a whole head of cauliflower, like whole fruit salad, all these things, and just be trying to put in as much micronutrients as possible per calorie into your body, especially nowadays that soil is so depleted and that fruit has changed to where like it's a little bit bigger and less to feed more people. They made like the fruit bigger and stuff like that, right? So the moderation thing is so stupid to say, well, I should be eating in moderation. Like this guy's promoting like you need to have a variety of as much nutrient dense things as possible to be healthy because you're already at a huge disadvantage because of the society that you live in right now.
So
eat your greens.
yeah, my diet is healthier than the vegan diet according to scientific evidence.
Lol.
So
Lol.
that is, I'd rather go by by science in my blood test results. So
blood test results. What's your cholesterol? 4,000, like Sparinge. Sparinge's was what, like 2 something? I can't remember what Sparinge's.
They actually released results.
Yeah, Sparinge put his blood test results up there a while back, and it was like 200 and something. And he says, don't worry, because cholesterol is good for you, or high cholesterol is good.
He must have eaten a lot of vegan ice cream before he went and did that.
Yeah, exactly. But the argument is, oh, it's all a big conspiracy, and they want you to think high cholesterol is bad, but it's not.
According to the Adventist Health Study, my diet is healthier than a vegan diet. I wonder what her diet is. Is she a pescatarian or something?
Yeah, it must be just the smallest amount of fish, and that's it, which is so dumb.
I mean, it doesn't actually work out that it's better for you. There's some mitigating factors. All you got to do is make sure you're getting your B12 and your omega-6.
Yeah, and also there was in the pescatarian thing they were in worse health in other categories than the vegan thing, even though like overall they were better in like a couple things. Like they were, I can't remember which ones. BMI I think was one, and maybe cancer. I can't remember, but there was a few things that they definitely lost to vegans in. So that study isn't pescatarians are the best either. It's just like they won slightly in like 1 or 2 things, and it was probably it's one of those correlation studies too or whatever, right? So they just look at a bunch of people, and still that doesn't mean you should eat meat either way.
Eat your greens.
Yeah, and that's one study. Look at the other 1,000. Look at just the 1,000 that the World Health Organization referenced about all different types of meats. Look at Dr. Joel Fuhrman's 1,000 peer-reviewed studies in his Eat to Live book. Look at all these books, the Greger book, everything.
They were healthier in all-cause mortality. It was definitive.
How about the study that shows heme iron raises your risk of coronary heart disease by 34%, and heme iron is in fish, not in vegetables or fruit. What are you going to say there?
Oh, you dismissed it because your vegan diet doesn't come out on top. Okay. And that's irrelevant to me. I don't eat processed meat or red meat, etc. So, yeah, all-cause mortality is kind of important. No doubt about it. But you should probably care to look into some details.
I would rather smoke crack than eat fish. That's just me, though. Just letting everybody know. That would be my choice. I'd rather smoke some crack. At least I get like some sort of a benefit from the crack.
Vitamin B17.
Mm-hmm. CoQ10. You ever seen like the nutrient list? The 50 nutrients that vegans are missing from like the raw meat eaters. There's a list of 50 of them. It's pretty crazy. Let me see if I can find it. It's hilarious. 50.
Yeah.
Sure, I can
So,
find her.
I think it's Dr. Greger uh, takes gets into the Mediterranean diet in comparison to other diets in the video he did. 40-year-old vegan dies of a heart attack. So, you know, there are ways of getting heart attacks if you're vegan, but you basically don't expect to get heart attacks as a vegan. All you got to do is do things right, and you fix that problem. Um, so I think getting into the Mediterranean diet and understanding what about it is beneficial is more useful than saying, oh, well, this random diet that we happen to encounter is the best one in this small group. And if we don't look at any other studies, then that's what everyone's got to do from now on.
So I found a list here. I didn't find the 51, but right away I found this website called Self Hacked. And it says 20 nutrients that vegans and vegetarians aren't getting enough of. Vegan diet is often praised for its benefits, but here's a list of 20 nutrients that they should supplement with. Many plant proteins contain lectins that could wreak havoc on your health. Stay away from those potatoes, people. So I'll name the nutrients and you tell me how to get them. All right, we'll go through really quickly. DHA and EPA.
You don't need to get them. Your body produces them. If you just don't flood your body with omega-6 oils, you should be able to get that from other foods.
We got B12 and D3. Those are obvious.
I'm not going to say you can get them from plants. Never would. Bacteria make them. So you can eat an animal that eats dirt and feces and all that stuff. And yeah, there will be some B12 in there. And some of them can absorb it from the bacteria that's in their digestive system. But you could eat poop, you could drink dirty water, you could do lots of things. You could take a supplement. It doesn't take much volume at all. So some guy was putting down unwashed plants or something, and I haven't examined it, but there would be B12 on there. Where it's not saying that there's B12 in the plant. So that was Lay Vegan putting that down, but he's just citing things that are irrelevant.
Good old Lay Vegan. He's always on point. Unnatural Lay Vegan. So you don't recommend eating a dirty mushroom covered with feces and bugs for your B12 and D?
I'm not a fan of bugs. I'm not sure what that buys you. Do they have some ability to concentrate B12?
Yeah, I believe bugs do have B12. Bugs have B12,
they have
iodine.
To have B12. I don't think they
probably
concentrate.
Probably a little bit of D. What is the other thing that they have? They have small amounts of cholesterol, which actually could be beneficial.
How could that be beneficial?
I don't know. It's beneficial to all other primates.
In what way? I mean, how would you measure that?
I don't know. Let's chop them open. No, but I mean, isn't part of every, like, let's say you got any animal, right, that eats like insects or like an anteater, right?
Yeah.
They're eating the insects. Every part of the insects they're adapted to, obviously, and it's beneficial, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So why wouldn't it be beneficial in small amounts if that was always part of your diet in small amounts?
Yeah, I suppose that's the case. I wouldn't say that you're benefited over not eating cholesterol.
It's hard to say. Study. We need to study immediately.
Well, I mean, you're saying beneficial, like it's not greater than or equal to. You're saying it's greater than or something.
Yeah, I would assume, like I'm saying assume, right? Because I don't know 1,000%. But if say humans ate, like, here's the thing too, like humans probably ate a very, very small amount of insects compared to other primates. Like I would say it's super small. Like I think a chimpanzee's, I've seen different things, but I think it was very like 3% or something. Like a lot of these primates are very small percentage of insects, but humans, they have the smallest amount of protein in their breast milk ever been tested by any animal. So that says a lot. But then also, they have the most carbohydrate adaptions in their like enzymes in their body compared to any other primate. So I would say they would be eating more carbohydrates than the rest of them, which would mean less insects, right? Just by those two things, you know. But again, I'm just assuming. So I'm sure it was a part of their diet for millions of years. And if you think about what humans originated from, it was an animal that ate nothing but insects. So, I mean, you can't say that eating an insect is not beneficial because I've never seen something that shows that it isn't beneficial. But then there's all that information that shows that that's food that humans have been eating. Right?
Well, I'm not going to comment on 2% of your calories from insects being harmful, but I will say that when it comes to cholesterol, which is the thing you brought up, we do make our own. So
yeah, but would you say like say you had no oil, like you were eating just fruits and vegetables, and then you had a little bit of insects? Wouldn't that be a healthy ass diet?
I have no need to eat the insects.
No, I'm just saying.
I think what you're saying is like you're talking about this thing, and you're talking about the most irrelevant insect consumption there is. There's the part that didn't come off when you grabbed a leafy green from the garden. So it's almost a moot point.
I'm saying that's what I would do. I would probably assume that it was actually more than that. You know, more than that if you were actually like you know, a primate or whatever, right?
So I do think that any animal, any large animal, has to be ready to deal with the fact that they might accidentally consume some other animal, and it make sure that their body doesn't react to it like it's poison. So I mean, beyond that, I don't see any real point.
Yeah, I'm just arguing for the fact that what I'm saying is most likely true, but I'm still not going to go out of my way to eat insects because here's the thing, like I don't eat healthy to begin with. Like I'm having Gatorade, I'm having, you know, some junk food here and there. If I'm willing to do that, have some beers and jeopardize my health for taste, pleasure, and culture and all these things, why am I going to go out of my way to go eat termites like this sweet natural living guy is thinking about? Why am I going to go out of my way to do that? And, you know, I could just eat some beans or something like I'm eating right here and get, you know, some little bit of protein from that or something, right? It makes no sense if I'm still eating junk food, right? Unless it's absolutely needed, but it hasn't been proven to be needed. And until it does, I'm just not really concerned about it. But I'm just saying as truth, it probably is true.
So what other nutrients you got on there?
Next one is vitamin insects. No, so there's D3, obviously.
What animal are you going to get any significant amount of D3 from? I've plugged in a few things.
From insects?
What?
You can't get it from, like, I assume you can get it from animal products. You can?
I imagine there's some, but it's not significant. Milk? It's dairy? Just not significant. For milk, it's just not significant. There's no sources in the grocery store that are significant. You can ward off rickets by feeding people fortified milks. And so what does that mean? It just means our policy should probably be to fortify something else. And I mean, that's just a policy. It's not a food. I mean, it's not a animal product thing. And it's not meaningful. So if Blair White is vegan, I mean, D deficient, she's going to be D deficient after she drinks animal products.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, yeah, one of the things that Dr. Telorn was talking about when I said about the sunlight thing, everybody should go get sunlight. If you look at the studies about supplements, tons of them are contradictory about like what type of supplement that you should take and which ones are effective. And all of these, like this one's been proven to you should be taking the quick dissolve. Well, this one's proven you should be taking it with calcium, and this one with fat, and this one all these things, and they're all saying completely different things. So it's like,
Yeah.
you might not even just absorb whatever you're taking. So you should still be concerned about getting sun. So Blair White just needs to step outside
Okay,
and
so
get
this
some sun.
absorption thing, that's so here's what we should be taking is the idea. This is 100% of our RDA, and it's meaningless, pointless amount. It just basically gets rid of rickets. It doesn't even bring you anywhere near where you need to be. And then you test it, and the test is correct in that this is what a healthy person would have, and basically everyone is deficient, and we don't need to say, well, what's average, and then go with that. People are actually deficient, and people think that 100% should get you over here. It doesn't get you over where you need to be, and so people think of issues. Well, if this is what I need to be taking, and this is where I'm at, then what's the problem? It must be absorption. No, it's not absorption. I mean, if you didn't take enough, it doesn't matter what percentage you absorb, you're doing it wrong. So you can't even say you have absorption issues. People go to that a little bit too quickly.
Yeah, one of the things that I debated a guy named Health Satori Project, who is like an occasional raw meat eater. He was kind of like an eating challenge type of guy, and he was saying that when you take a whole bunch of B12, like however much you need, I think is only like 6 micrograms or something like really small, but you have to take like 2,500 micrograms per week in order to just get that tiny amount absorbed into your body. I don't know if that's true, but that's what he said.
I understand that there are specific sites at which B12 is absorbed, and there's a set amount that you can absorb at any given time. And so taking it a little bit of a time may have some benefit. So there's several factors. There's something about intrinsic factor that's important to absorption, and then there's methylation problems, and you could probably get away with doing things many ways, but even though it takes more time to absorb or something, you do better with a little bit at a time. I hear things like, oh, well, you take it once a week and you'll be okay. So I don't really know all the details of that. I'm a little confused, and it's hard to sort out. I just take a little bit of time here and there.
What's your thoughts on yeast? What do you think about yeast?
This is my B12 right here. It's got tons of it. Is yeast one of those nutrients or something?
No, I was just curious. This is my Chinese finger trap right here, in case you guys were wondering.
Yeah.
It's not my B12, but what do you think about yeast? Nutritional yeast, kombucha, all that type of stuff. Think it's good for you?
Oh, well, nutritional yeast often is supplemented with B12, and it is sometimes not. You would really have to get it to say so. So B12 is kind of nice to have.
You think it'll give ladies a yeast infection in their undercarriage?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard any vegan ladies complaining about it, and they seem to like the nooch. So
I've heard a lot about, I think Gregor had some videos about it saying that it's linked to Crohn's in some way, and it's bad for people who have Crohn's to have yeast, kombuchas and nutritional yeast. I've heard people say that you can get foot fungus, candida, yeast infections, all these types of things from having fruit, right? And then kombuchas too. And then I watched there's a whole hour-and-a-half lecture by Dr. Robert Morse saying how ridiculous it is to blame fruit and all this stuff, and then say he was talking about how it was actually kombuchas and nutritional yeast and all these other things that cause it.
Yeah, I've had nutritional yeast once pretty early on, just kind of to fit in or something. But I don't really do too many vegan things. I live in a rural area and they sell produce and stuff, and I just buy that stuff. So
You kind of think about it like you eat a ton of yeast. Where's the yeast going to go, right? Maybe it comes out some other area, right?
yeah,
It's not too far-fetched.
I imagine it does have to come out, but I don't see how that's necessarily a problem.
Comes out of your toenails. Right?
No, no, it doesn't go
You don't
into
think it
it
you don't
doesn't
think
go
it gives
into the
you
normal gut.
you don't think like it gives you like foot fungus?
Not from the inside.
I never thought about how it actually works. How do you think it like how does it work?
I've thought maybe I've had foot fungus a long time ago or something, but I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, some people say it's from nutritional yeast and kombuchas that'll give you foot fungus.
Hmm.
Yeah. Let's look it up. We'll make a video collab on it. Foot
I don't know
fungus
about that.
debunked.
More nutrients.
Vitamin A.
Yeah, so I guess vegans are deficient in vitamin A. Next.
That's true. It is true.
Yeah,
Zinc.
we don't get vitamin A. We get all the beta carotenes we need. So zinc, I think you can get that. Like I'm just guessing beans and sunflowers, and they talk about some things that are pretty calorie dense when they talk about zinc. I'm not sure how much we need, and I think it's probably more for a man. When I was plugging things in, yeah, I'm kind of low on zinc as far as what I was dealing with, but I was also low on calories and things like that.
Where do you think primates get their zinc from?
Food?
It's not fruit or vegetables.
It's not fruit or vegetables.
It's insects.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Well, it probably is fruit and vegetables too.
Yeah, but how much zinc is in insects, and where did they get it? I mean,
It's
you're talking
lots.
about you're talking about something. I mean, if it's concentrated in animals, it must bioaccumulate somehow.
It's in iodine's in insects too.
Right, but um, and if you're talking about something that bioaccumulates, why wouldn't it bioaccumulate in people? Why do we need to eat such high levels? If we
Well,
can have more
vegans
in
are
us,
iodine deficient though, right?
what?
Vegans are
Yeah,
iodine deficient.
yeah, I've heard things like that. But how does that work, though? That these animals are able to bioaccumulate it? Is this just one group of animals?
Yeah, I think it's because so like insects, they're not like living in the sterile environment like a human is. So I had this debate before with Tim, right? And he
That
kind
makes
of
more sense in B12 because there's bacteria that produce it. But what's sterility have to do with anything?
yeah, I used to think that, B12 only came from like soil and fresh water and stuff like that. And I know a little bit is created in your own saliva and you could create it in your gut a little bit. But the thing is, like, I had a debate with Tim before about B12, and I said you get it from fresh water and soil. And he says, that's not true. He said, show me something. Well, he didn't say that's not true, but he said, show me something that shows that soil and fresh water has enough B12 in it to where, like a human could get enough from it from eating foods like that. Like, is it concentrated enough in there? And he said, I believe it was a combination of dirt and insects. And that's what actually got me started thinking about it. And then I realized that there's all these other things that are in insects too that people are lacking in. And
Yeah,
then
but
also the idea of like all of our, ancestors for millions of years obviously ate it.
there's nothing about that that makes any special sense to me. If an insect eats B12 and then has B12, they got it from their environment just the same way we would. And what would give them an advantage in obtaining this amount that would be delivered to us through eating them?
Well, like you could think of the same argument from plants though, right? Like, so just because a plant consumed a bunch of soil with nutrients in it. That doesn't
Yeah,
mean
it
that
doesn't have
I
any
should be
B12.
just eating. Well, it doesn't mean that I should be just having the B12. It should mean
Yeah,
that I'm having
it,
like, well, I mean, like, so there's other things in soil,
it
right? There's
filters it out.
lithium.
I mean, it just grabs water and stuff and makes everything it needs. It doesn't need or use B12 in any way.
No,
There's
okay, so not, yeah,
absolutely no B12 in plants.
not just B12, but like other nutrients. Let's just take another nutrient, right? So the nutrients from the soil get absorbed into the plant, right? But if you still had soil on your plants, you would be getting the nutrients from the soil and you'd be consuming the plant and you'd be getting nutrients in different amounts, right? So people did eat soil on their plants, and there's tons of nutrients in soil and dust mites and all sorts of things that cover your plants. And once you wash it off, that's not the way you should be eating it. So you're adapted to eating the dirty plant with insects on it.
Yeah. So I'm not 100% sold on insects as useful. I do think that zinc is pretty important and maybe more important for men. But I do
Yeah,
have some. I
I'm
have
not
some
trying to
in my
sell you
cabinet.
on
So
eating. I'm not trying to sell you on eating insects though. I'm not saying you should go eat insects because they're healthy. I'm just saying, like, is there any proof that shows that they're not healthy? Like, I would say no, right? Have you ever seen proof that shows that they're not healthy?
yeah, I haven't really seen people pig out on them. So that's one aspect of it. People don't engage in eating them, so that makes them much healthier.
Well, they do though. They do. If you look it up, people eat insects all around the world, like even
Well,
today.
yeah, eating insects and eating a lot of them is two different things.
Well, people do eat a lot of them, like especially
Uh,
termites. There was this you don't watch enough dirty fruitarian people. That's the reason why. So there's these people that live in the tropics that there's a line on trees of termites that just go in a big line and they'll just stand there and just pick them off like snacks and just eat them. All sorts of bugs all around the world. They do this thing where the tribes people will stick the stick in the hole and pull out the ants and pull out all sorts of bugs and just eat the ants off the stick. It
yeah,
sounds
I'm
delicious.
not personally interested. I don't really see people eating lots. Is it comprised more than 2% of their diet?
That's hard to say. I don't know. I guess it would depend on the thing too. Like Dr. Tellorn talked about this too. Is like there's a reason why you have a gallbladder, right? So the 80-10-10 diet does not make sense. It does not make sense to be counting a specific amount of calories and a percentage in micro and macronutrients because if you were in nature, you would never eat that way. So if you were starving and you came along, say a termite nest or line, you would be eating until you're full, right? But then you would move on and, then you would see some fruit tree. Then you would mono meal like a bunch of oranges or whatever, right? And you would move like you would, and then that's why humans have a good memory. They remember where all these food sources are, and yeah. So basically, so the gallbladder. Why I said that is like that's there for a reason because if you came along like nuts and seeds or an avocado tree or whatever, high amounts of fat, your body needs to get rid of that a high amount of fat. And to say that humans should be eating 80-10-10, if they always ate like that, then you wouldn't have the gallbladder adaptation. It doesn't make any sense.
Angela's participating. I kind of like getting my omega-3, selenium, B vitamins, D vitamins, and protein all in a delicious little package. So she wants to ignore what I said about vitamin D. Basically, I don't think she has any real idea how much vitamin D she actually needs, and if the vitamin D in her fish is going to change anything.
There's a guy who invented his own synthetic drinks that has every macro and micronutrient in it that he thinks he needs. And he was drinking them for a month and he was just vomiting all over the place. He said they didn't go down very well. But that's what happens when you try to make fake food. And that's what happens when you consume the wrong amount wrong type of food like animal products, even though it has the right amount of stuff in it, there's going to be side effects like vomiting. What What about, we'll skip to some weird ones here. How about carnosine?
Yeah, I don't really pay any attention to non-essential.
Yeah. So there's a list of those, right?
Amino
It just says
acids.
amino acids. It says just amino acids, like all of
Oh,
them.
yeah, good point. Amino.
Then it says taurine, glycine, carnosine, carnitine. I mean, carnitine like has been shown to cause heart disease, right? The L-carnitine raises the what is it, the TMAO, and then that causes high cholesterol or whatever, and then heart disease, something like that. I forget how it goes exactly, but
I'm guessing that it's more like some sort of assault on the endothelium or something that has to be patched up instead of raising the cholesterol directly. But maybe I don't know.
I don't know. I saw it in like a Harvard study. I just remember TMAO. L-carnitine does the TMAO, which does something which leads to heart disease or
Yeah, yeah. There's
other
some
problems.
steps in there for uh, like B12 is involved in that, but I don't think that has anything to do with creating uh, cholesterol.
It also has B2, B3, and B6 all in here. So niacin, riboflavin, and pyridoxine.
Hmm.
Can't get any of those. None of
Yeah.
them.
So I did find, and of course, I was mainly checking this. I did find it kind of hard to get a lot of niacin. You can get that like in peanuts or something like that, or tomatoes. But niacin was basically the only B vitamin that is a little bit low.
It's in
There's
fruit, man.
zinc.
Fruit.
So I only have like four things, uh, if you don't count iodine, since I have a plant food for that. But yeah, there's some zinc I have in there, and there's some niacin that I seem to be running low on the way I eat, but that's a low calorie diet. I don't think I really have a problem with low niacin now. And vitamin D and B12, that's the ones I'm concerned about.
The UFC weigh-in just started, but that's boring anyways. Um, let's see here. Okay, we got choline.
Yeah, choline. Um, so I don't think we need it for some reason.
I don't know.
I haven't looked into that really. So I don't know what I'm talking about so much. Seems
Yeah,
like
neither do I. That's how they try to get you. They give you some weird one. It says choline is an essential. You say choline? Is that how it's
yeah,
pronounced?
I believe that would be a better pronunciation.
It says choline is an essential nutrient that is needed for brain function. But it doesn't even tell you how to like what it's from or nothing. Doesn't even say nothing. Okay, well this is good.
I'm pretty sure you
All
can get it
right,
in eggs.
yeah. Um, oh, let's go to there's something funny over here. So I'm gonna skip these. There's a couple other ones, stupid ones, iron, calcium, whatever. But there's something funny here that has vegan arguments and counterpoints. So let's see here. So says for DHA and EPA, right? So it says DHA, EPA, yep. Eat some flax, chia, not walnuts every day. Limit your vegetable oil, not so hard. If you still test low, take some algae supplements. So that would be the vegan response, right? And then they have a counterpoint. ALA found in flax, chia, walnuts does not convert well into DHA, and you will never get to the optimal levels of DHA. And when it comes to DHA, we're not getting enough. All you need to do is read my post about DHA and you will understand the optimal levels. And then, it says vegans have 59% less DHA. I don't know where they're getting that from. And yeah. So yeah, this whole website's crap. Anyways, we just discussed that, but
Yeah. So I don't know what the levels are, if they're in the healthy range or not, but if they have less, that's not necessarily the best. So
you know what's funny though? These type of things like this little cheat sheet here that they put up there, those are the exact same arguments. The page is a mile long that these raw meat eaters will use. So they've studied pages like this, and they have
mhm.
like a cheat sheet where they're like, this Chris guy did this, and he said the same arguments about DHA and all these other things. And I was going through, and then I realized that, oh, these are the same arguments that this guy used, and then I realized, oh, that's the same arguments some other guy used, and it's like they all have the same cheat sheet that they just share. It's hilarious. It's like, oh, you must be all part of the same Facebook group or something.
Yeah, I imagine they kind of train each other.
Mhm.
I don't know, don't have any evidence.
Yeah. I don't know where everybody is tonight. I sent out this invite to like a whole bunch of people, and not one single person came on here. Bohan's got a hot date today. That's what he was talking about. But yeah, I'm gonna be watching WWE pretty soon. You watch WWE?
I have in the past.
Yeah,
It's been a
but
long
not
time.
recently.
It has
Not a
been a
fan.
long time. Yeah. I was back in the days of WWF. Wait, no,
Yeah.
no, that's not it. WCW. I was
Yeah.
more of a WCW kind of guy
Oh
for
yeah.
a long time.
With Sting.
I'm not sure if he was around at that time or not, but yeah, I recall him at a different period of time that I was watching a lot of wrestling.
Huh. Yeah, he was in WWF first, and he was like just had some colored face paint and white hair, but then he went into WCW and he was all like evil with like black makeup, and he looked like the Crow, that movie The Crow with Brandon Lee or whatever it is, and big leather jacket and everything. That's all I remember from WCW.
Yeah, I kind of I was around during the time when something happened to WCW and WWE, that transition, but yeah, not
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It seems like the same thing as it used to be, except there's more girls now, and they're all just wearing nothing. They just wear bikinis, which is
that
fine.
that seems like it's very similar to the way it was when I was there.
Yeah. Yeah,
How much less can they really be wearing these days?
that's true. That's true. It's just more shiny, I guess.
Oh, okay.
And then they're also like after they quit or after they quit WWE, then they go into porn. That's the step after.
Oh,
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, I'm gonna go get ready and stuff, and then I'll be on live stream later. I'm also gonna upload a video where I just debunk some weirdo. That's gonna be uploaded in about 5 minutes. And yeah,
okay.
thanks for having me on, Thaddeus. Sorry the debate didn't happen. It's Meteor Man's fault. Screw you, Meteor Man. Angela, you suck too. Have a good day, everybody.